Trump continues the trade war. Let me explain the main news from last week. So, Trump imposed a 10% tariff on imported goods. Some items, like those from Vietnam, the tariffs are even higher, reaching 46%. Why has this news stirred up so much commotion? Because for the last 80 years, the Western world, led by the United States, has been doing the exact opposite, removing tariffs to allow for free trade among nations. The US did this not just for the sake of beautiful slogans about free economies, which you can find on the websites of the IMF and WTO, but because after World War II, the world was divided into colonies, and the US had none of these colonies, leaving them with few places to sell their products outside of Europe. That's why the US actively promoted the idea of free trade, to gain access to colonial markets. However, in recent decades, the world has changed. The US has shifted from being the main producer to the main consumer, and American industry has begun to lose competition to manufacturers from Asia and Africa, which have been growing thanks to cheap labor. The US is becoming increasingly dependent on other countries because they produce very little themselves and rely on the dollar, which remains the main global currency. And Trump is literally saying, this cannot continue. Here are your tariffs. Now you won't sell us anything because of them. Want zero tariffs? Build your factories in the US so that the American economy can grow as well. It sounds logical and patriotic to stifle foreign competitors to help domestic producers. But the downside is that now your citizens will buy goods at 1.5 times the price they did before. Prices will rise, and as a bonus, you'll face the problem of inflation, which you'll have to combat by raising interest rates. That's why Trump's tariff policy is criticized by many. It's too harsh, and the results are unpredictable. Markets around the world have fallen due to such maneuvers, while we sit with popcorn, watching the developments since no tariffs have been imposed against Russia. It seems Washington has decided that the current sanctions are enough for now. We will talk about the country that suffered the most from the imposition of free trade policies after World War II in our new video this weekend.